Forget it, Bart. It's so bright out you can't see anything in the sky except the Fox satellite.
No, Lise.
Never know what's going to happen. This baby fell out of the sky and landed in our yard. It's never boring on the Wakey farm. Thank God there's no horses out or it didn't hit the house. And it's still going and flashing.
Positive rates. Clear up. Clear up. On our way today to New York, we will cross the Atlantic Ocean, and there's limited or no radar coverage from ATC. That's why we followed, let's say, highways in the sky, and all the aircraft are separated from each other 10 minutes, so we have to fly a fixed speed over the ocean. And they are chosen in such a way that they are most economical. On our routing today to New York, we try to prevent the headwinds, and so at this time the tracks are very southerly to prevent the 200 knots headwinds northern part of the oceanic. In a minute we're gonna request the clearance from ATC for our track today to New York. So what we do is we select here oceanic clearance request. Flight number is automatically put in. The flight level, that's the flight level for the crossing. That's flight level 360.
360, yeah.
Speed that we have to fly. Set.
Yeah, check.
Okay. There's the clearance. Caleb 641 is clear to Kilo Juliet Foxtrot Kilo. That's New York via Sepal. Not Delta. Sepal.
Checked.
And then 4615.
Checked.
4520.
Check.
4330.
Check.
4240.
Check.
4250.
Check.
4260.
Check.
Dovi.
Check.
Maintain flight level 360 decimal 85.
Check.
So we accept that message. And then we have again that our confirmation is received on their side. So they now know that we have received the clearance.
KLM 641 heavy descend, maintain 7,000. KLM 641 heavy contact final 132.4 today.
1324, again 641 heavy. Goodbye.
Flaps 1.
Back 1. Kennedy Tower, again 641 heavy and 04 right.
Kilo 641 Heavy, County 6 miles bound and Airbus 320, wind 36017, gust 28, runway 4 right, clear to land.
Clear land, 4 right, KLM 641.
Glide slow. Gear down.
Gear down.
Flaps 20.
Flaps 20.
Speed brakes on.
12 knots crosswind left.
100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Speed brake up. Reverse normal.
Investigators searching for missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 have recommended extending the search by an additional 25,000 square meters to an area further north in the Indian Ocean. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau has released a report with investigators and aviation experts saying there is a high degree of confidence that previously searched areas do not contain the missing aircraft. Flight MH370 disappeared in March 2014 with 239 passengers and crew on board. It was en route to Beijing from Kuala Lumpur, and its whereabouts have become one of the world's greatest aviation mysteries.
That mobile phone in your hand is a stunning piece of technology that's almost completely useless without a network to power it. When you're at home or in the office, that's taken care of by Wi-Fi. But when you go out into the world, you need a cellular network to keep you connected. That's why you see cell towers all over the place these days.
We use cell phones every day to stay connected with our family, work, and communities. But have you ever thought about how your cell phone works? A carrier has an extensive network of cell sites and switches designed to send and receive signals from everyone's cell phones. To maximize coverage and network availability, carriers place cell sites throughout communities in strategic patterns, as each site can only cover a specific area and number of users. The strategic site patterns ensure that the coverage radius of adjoining sites, often depicted as hexagons, overlap just slightly to provide seamless handoff of calls between sites. As cells are to your body, cell sites are to your network. All must be properly connected to allow the coordinated transmission of information.
Hi, my name is Josh Kallenberg, and I'm here at the Van Nuys Airport in Los Angeles, California. I've been flying professionally for about 13 years, and now I have the pleasure of flying this Gulfstream G450, which is a lot of fun and exciting. And today, I'm going to talk to you about becoming a pilot. So some of you might want to learn how to navigate an airplane. There's several methods that we use. Some of the basic methods that we use from the primary training It's what we call pilotage. It's basically using references outside, buildings, towers, certain mountains, as reference landmarks to navigate around. That's usually good for smaller airplanes or when we're in a fast-moving jet, when you're coming in the terminal environment or around the airport, you might use that method. Means of navigation is a radio navigation, and that's where we follow electronic signals to certain fixes on the ground or places on the ground. And we can use that in the en route segment. So as we're flying along, there are certain stations around, all around the country, around the world, where if you're within the range of it, we can track it and follow that beam to that fix.
Standing for Very High Omnidirectional Range, a VOR uses a ground station to provide azimuth information to the aircraft. The station is oriented to magnetic north and sends out 360 radials. Each radial represents a heading from the station. When visualizing a VOR, think of a bicycle wheel. Each radial is a heading from the station, so when you fly over the VOR and track a radial from the station, you are essentially tracking a heading away from the station. It is important to remember that VOR radials do not account for winds, so remember that your in-flight heading may be different from the radial which you are tracking. Eventually you will enter the cone of confusion once near a VOR. This will be apparent once the CDI needle begins to dance back and forth, followed by full deflection once over the VOR. If your aircraft is equipped with distance measuring equipment, or DME, it is known as VOR/DME, and provides distance information to or from a VOR.
DME is an aircraft system that measures the slant range distance from aircraft to ground-based station. The DME can transmit and receive one of 252 channels, spaced at 1 MHz intervals. The channels are split into X and Y channel. Each channel have 126 channels. Each channel transmit and receive on frequency that are spaced 63 MHz apart. This is air-to-ground signal, while this is ground-to-air signal. An aircraft sends an interrogating pulse, and the ground station transponder responds by retransmitting a strong answering signal to be received by the aircraft. The DME equipment on board the aircraft converts the signal from the DME beacon into a digital readout of distance in nautical miles.
Today I'll show you the bridge, the command center, the brain of the vessel. Entering through the stairs, we'll start off from the bridge wing. Got this barbecue stove looking thingy on both port and starboard bridge wing. It's a remote panel. Here you find controls for the bow thrusters, indicators for speed, engine RPM, rate of turn, heading, compass, speaker and mic. This is a gyro repeater for taking bearings of objects or celestial bodies. This tall chair is a pilot chair. There is always a designated pilot chair for maritime pilots, no matter what type of ship you're on. An azimuth ring, used in conjunction with the gyro repeater outside for taking bearings of objects. SART on each side of the bridge. SART is short for Search and Rescue Radar Transponder. This is what it looks like when it's activated. The other ships can locate you from the radars. Fire plan, damage control plan, dangerous good plan, all for emergency use.
There's no stopping it. Titanic will founder.
Moving on to the center console. This is where most of electronic navigation equipments are. Starting from the port side, we've got 3 radars. 1 radar antenna on the forward mast and 2 at the back on the main mast. numerous indicators. LORAN-C, which no one uses anymore. AIS, Automatic Identification System for Ship. ACTIS, short for Electronic Chart Display Information System. It's a digital version of paper charts.
Gents, I give you the fountain of youth.
Sadly, we still use paper charts in conjunction with electronic charts. It's a digital version of paper charts.
Gents, I give you the fountain of youth.
Sadly, we still use paper charts in conjunction with electronic charts. We still use paper charts in conjunction with electronic charts.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck. So for Nolan. Now, let's imagine being lost at sea. It's become a familiar grumble in recent years that in the age of sat-nav, people no longer know how to read a map. Well, something equivalent has become a concern of the US Navy. Its ships navigate by GPS, as you would expect, but the Navy's asked itself what would happen if a cyberstrike took the GPS technology down. So this year, it's reintroduced basic training in the lost craft of celestial navigation. Shall we find out what that entails? Sailor, author and fellow of the Royal Institute of Navigation, Tom Cunliffe, is here to give us a lesson in the unhackable technology of, well, it's the sextant, isn't it?
There it is.
How hard is it to use a sextant?
Using the thing is not difficult at all. Actually, it's a very old instrument. That's from 1942.
This looks pretty old. Yeah,
it is.
Weighty old thing.
Yeah, it is. That went round the North Cape in World War II, that one did.
Right. OK, well, look, we've provided you with stars at great expense. We've highlighted Orion. How do you use this to take a position, then?
The purpose of the instrument is to measure angles with extreme accuracy. This sextant, this ancient sextant, will measure the angle between one of those stars and the horizon. Let's call that silver line there the horizon.
Right, okay.
It will measure it.
Show us how you do it, then. What do you do?
Yeah, OK. You grab hold of the sextant. We'll forget about the lanyard.
You won't put that on so you don't drop it in the sea?
That would go on, yes, but we'll not bother with it now.
Right.
We sight looking at the star. The light comes from the star. It hits this mirror.
OK.
Bounces onto that mirror.
Right.
Comes through the telescope and into my eye.
OK.
Meanwhile, there's a plain glass half to that mirror. That looks straight at the horizon. And the difference between this angle and that one is what I'm seeing, the star and the horizon.
And every time, at every position on Earth, there's a kind of a unique angle for that star and the horizon. So
there is. It's not a position, actually, Evan.
It's not a position?
No, it's not a position. It's a position line. If I get that angle, which I can measure to 1/10 of a minute of arc, which is 200 yards at the equator, if I measure that accurately and get the time, it will give me a line on a chart.
Wait, it gives you a line?
A line. And I know I'm on that line, but I don't know where I am on the line.
That's completely useless.
No, because if I get another line...
OK, sorry. Right, that's triangulation. OK, you're going to do it. Right.
The two cross.
Were especially fascinated with the most mysterious invisible force of all, magnetism. The result of their fascination was the creation of the world's first magnetic compass. This was called a sinon, a section of lodestone, which is naturally magnetic, was carved into the shape of the Big Dipper and placed on a polished board. The circular center of the board represented heaven, and the square represented earth, and the spoon, the Big Dipper. This constellation was especially sacred, as 2 stars in the Big Dipper always point to the pole star. The Emperor was the earthly counterpart of the pole star, around which all the other stars rotated. Hundreds of years before the first compass was to be found on a European ship, small factories in China mass-produced a variety of compass designs. The world's first prototype of the dry modern navigational compass was called the magnetic turtle. South was indicated by the direction of the needle, which was attached to a magnet concealed inside the model. Around the year 850 AD, Chinese ships began to carry a water compass to help them navigate during murky weather and storms, when there was no way to use the sun or the stars. This simple mariner's compass would always point south, unlike modern compasses today.
Then Chinese used a little steel needle to replace the spoon. This made the Zhinanzhen easier to carry. "600 years ago, Zheng He, a famous eunuch of the Ming Dynasty, traveled to Southeast Asia and the Indian Ocean 7 times. Zheng even reached the Red Sea with the help of the Zhinanzhen. The invention boosted the development of navigation.
We all know the functions of a compass to give the right direction with respect to north and south pole of the earth by use of magnetism. But due to interference in communication, the smartphone does not use a magnet. As one of its components, a smartphone uses a new technology which does the exact same work as a conventional compass does. The smartphone have a small magnetometer built in, which can measure the Earth's magnetic field. This information is combined with accelerator that acquires information regarding to the phone in space. If ultra-low frequency signals coming from a specific direction like north or south pole, the accelerator can actually calculate the exact orientation and direction of Earth. This can be possible by Hall's effect. In 1879, Edwin Hall idealized the voltage difference across 2 electrical conductors. When the electrical conductors are raised, transfers to an electric current in the conductor and an applied magnetic field perpendicular to the current. By using the Hall's theory, it was too easy for scientists to put sensors at different angles. Thus, by the use of multi-sensors at different orientations, one can actually have their own magnetic field which can be compelled with the Earth's magnetic field. By analyzing Earth's magnetic field, the sensors allow a phone to determine its position and the direction very accurately.
The Hall effect is the most common method of measuring magnetic field, and the Hall effect sensors are very popular and have many contemporary applications. For example, they can be found in vehicles as wheel speed sensors, as well as crankshaft or camshaft position sensors. Also, they are often used as switches, MEMS compasses, proximity sensors, and so on.
RD-180 ignition. And we have liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket carrying the 12th GPS-2F satellite for the United States Air Force. The Global Positioning System provides worldwide positioning, navigation, and timing service for military and civilian users.
Forget it, Bart. It's so bright out you can't see anything in the sky except the Fox satellite.